Let's talk about the new immersive theater attraction coming to Chicago's Ravinia Festival. It's Bernstein's Answer, a wildly entertaining visual production that asks the question, what does music mean?
So we wanted to create a magic box, this transformational magic box that started as a traditional theater and took us off on a journey and perhaps became maybe even a different theater along the way as each chapter of the story progressed. So, so we drew a traditional theater. And then I sat at a kitchen table and said, okay, how does this traditional theater transform? And we started using very basic shapes and form. And then that came out of this. We also walked all over Ravinia, on the campus of Ravinia, and looked at architectural cues all over campus. And there was this angular form that we found on campus that kind of informed us how to build the columns. And then the columns informed us how to build the ceiling. And that informed us how to build the proscenium and the sidewalls and the flooring. And suddenly we had a theater that wasn't quite what we thought it would be, but it was something else. And it felt like it fit here, but it was also new. And then we spent 3 years developing the technology.
Our host for this is Bobby McFerrin.
Yeah.
Why him?
I'll speak from my side. You probably have even more to say than me. Bobby had a long relationship, or had a relationship with your dad. I know that he studied with your dad at Tanglewood and had a friendship with him. And Bobby's approach to music and the way he blends all kinds of different styles just seemed perfect for the story we were trying to tell about Leonard Bernstein. He also has a long relationship with Ravinia, which made it a kind of natural fit, and a long relationship with the Chicago Children's Choir, who is the choir that appears at the end and who create that kind of incredible emotional magic at the end of the show.
What were you hoping that fans would take away from this experience after they see it?
We wanted them to be touched by the music of Leonard Bernstein. We wanted them to feel like music is music. And it was important for us to, with that emotional connection, to walk out and saying, hey, I like that. Maybe there's other music that I like too. So that was really important for us, that feeling that we wanted them to walk away with.
Obviously, Leonard Bernstein sets a very high standard for music education and music advocacy. As leading a team of storytellers, particularly visual storytellers, what opportunities did you see to build upon that legacy to create something that not just educates but advocates for music?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned visual, because one of the great things that we learned early on, in fact, I think this was a surprise even to you when we first learned it, was this idea that her dad saw music, that when he heard music, he would see colors. It was something he had talked about in one of the Harvard lectures that he had done. And so that was a big clue for us, that we could use the visual in order to create kind of emotion and evoke things rather than just need to tell them through language. I mean, obviously as you said, one of the great challenges here is that there was really no one better at education than your dad when it came to music. But the reason he was so good at it wasn't because he was making people feel like he was educating them. What he did is he would take them on these emotional journeys. And so that was then that idea of taking people on an emotional journey, telling them a story that led to this big emotional moment where people come together, that just kind of became the guiding principle for us as we developed the show.
And there's a definite story arc here in that this is not just, we're going to talk about music and there's music and there's music and it gets loud and fast and it ends. There's a dark moment in here. There's very dark moments in there before we get to the light at the end. How important was that to the success of the production?
I mean, I think having the moments of darkness and despair is how emotional storytelling is the core of emotional storytelling. Having those dark moments, it leaves us somewhere to go. We have the low moments, and then we have somewhere to rise to. So we knew that we needed a moment like that in the show, and it was Jamie who said, you've got to use the things that happened while my father was alive. And so we looked back and found these moments that were very dark. The Holocaust, Vietnam, the Kennedy assassination. And honestly, we did a cut of it, and it was Wells who said, this is how deep you have to go. You have to go this deep. And we were very nervous about it, but the moment it landed, we realized that the truth in showing the past just happens to be so relevant for today. This show was written, we wrote this show 4.5 years ago. But it feels like as if we wrote it 6 months ago. And I think that it's a tragic truth of history that we keep repeating ourselves, but also I think there's a lesson there too. So.
And that great music and great storytelling tend to endure.
That's right. And there's always a place to recover to. We can always learn and get better.
My father's music always contains the questions about our existence and why do we have so much darkness and how do we rise above it. And so I think it's great that Brad and his team found a way to really make that an organic part of their presentation, because it's how my dad was, and his own music was in a way the answer to his own question, that if we can create beauty that we all relate to, that everybody can respond to, and that lifts us up to that higher level of connection and discourse, then there is hope that we will all get to a better place.
There's such a challenge right now, not just in music education in this country, but advocating for music education. What kind of role do you see projects like this potentially playing in that cause?
Right. Well, it's a big interconnected thing to have this presentation, the Music Box, in Ravinia, which is so committed to bringing music education to everyone in the community. Plus, my dad's own constant. There was nothing he did in life that wasn't teaching. He just had to share whatever he was excited about, which is why he was such a good teacher, and why his young people's concerts were so compelling. So it's all interconnected, and it all has to do with sharing what you're excited about. And Ravinia really gets it about that.
Ultimately, great education has a lot of storytelling.
Yeah, here's what I would say. My favorite phrase when you're approaching anything that you're thinking of as educational is, your need to tell does not equate my need to hear, right? And what your dad did so well, and what I hope this show does, is that the way it approaches education is not that I'm going to knock you over the head with knowledge, but I'm going to make you feel something. Because if I can make you feel something, you're going to walk out of here and realize it's something that you care about and want to know more about, right? But if all I've done in there is kind of tried to fill you with facts, then you're going to walk out going, oh, that was kind of interesting, and not really care. It's what your dad did so brilliantly. It's why he was so effective at it. And I'm hoping that in a small way we've been able to do that in this show.
Yeah, it's very much in the same spirit. For
Yeah.
sure.